What if your biggest business bottleneck wasn't really your strategy, but your energy? Interesting, right? So, welcome back to Voices of Impact, where we explore the conversations shaping conscious leadership, sustainable success, and the inner foundations that create extraordinary external results. So, today's conversation is for every entrepreneur, founder, and leader who has ever felt like they were doing all the right things, yet still hitting that invisible ceiling. So, because sometimes the challenge isn't a lack of knowledge, strategy, or effort, which most people think it is, but it's sometimes an energetic misalignment beneath the surface that's quietly influencing everything. So, I'm excited to welcome AnnMarie McKenzie to this show. So, AnnMarie works with visionary entrepreneurs, conscious companies, and high level leaders to develop business and leadership styles rooted in her energetic intelligence blueprint. The integration of emotional intelligence, nervous system capacity, intuition, and strategic alignment. Her work explores a reality many leaders never consider, that the results we create externally often are a reflection of what's happening internally. And I can speak to this because it's happening on my end as well. So it is true. Through her Neuromology of Business Method, AnnMarie helps entrepreneurs uncover their energetic blueprint, identify hidden leaks, draining momentum, and understand the deeper patterns shaping leadership, visibility, relationships, and growth, right, at all levels. So it makes this conversation especially aligned is what we both believe in, that sustainable success really begins with internal alignment and then it's strategy, not the other way around. Leadership capacity and nervous system capacity are deeply connected, which is very true. Both of us are going through that currently. And intuition is a powerful business asset, not a weakness, right? Because a lot of people think like, oh, I should just focus on logic. Let's just ignore my gut intuition. That's not true, right? So in this episode, we'll explore how entrepreneurs can create greater impact, abundance, get aligned clients and opportunities by understanding the energetic foundations beneath every business decision, right? So AnnMarie, welcome to Voices of Impact. So excited to have you on the show.
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So let's dive in. So, AnnMarie, what first led you to explore the connection between the energetics of leadership and, of course, business success?
Great question. It came from tragedy, unfortunately. My mother was diagnosed with cancer in 2014. And at the time, I had been introduced to somebody who the premise of their work was based on how do you want to feel? And so I started to explore the idea that goals, everything that we're seeking outside of ourselves, is actually attached to a feeling. And if we reverse engineer that process and focus on the feelings first, focus on the frequency first, then we can create the outcomes that we desire with a lot more momentum, grace, and ease. And so I implemented this as my mother was going through cancer and my family and I were navigating that. And then really doubled down on it after the big loss. And I wanted to shout it from the rooftops because once you start to understand emotional intelligence as one of the pieces of energetic intelligence, you just want everybody else to know and understand that as well, to realize that our emotions are literally messages from the universe that radiate from our heart, which has an electromagnetic field that's far greater than that of the mind. And yet we always focus on the mind and the logic. And when we use that as a compass for our decisions and for our goals and for what it is that we're building and for our legacy, then everything amplifies, everything expands quite easily, and things feel a lot more in flow.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, thank you so much for sharing the story and being vulnerable. And I'm so sorry to hear that. And the fact that you used that wisely and realize that, yes, when you follow your intuition first, and I think it's very important for women, high achievers, I'm pretty sure you can relate to this, but I've been in the tech industry my whole life and corporate, and it's always about hustle, grind, logic. Even now, I still have a woman that was a little bit in and out, and she was like very operational focused, but she loved but her intuition kept telling her something. And there's a lot of people who are still navigating this and struggling, and they're not able to go into their emotions and feel into it.
Mhm.
And I can explain a little bit more deeper into my story because I've also struggled with that. I used to suppress everything until recently I actually felt into it. And it's a very magical feeling when you really are feeling those feelings, whatever it is, happy, sadness, grief, hurt, anger, like when you actually feel into it and you channel it, and then you kind of work on that and heal through it. And then you talked about energetics as well. It makes a huge difference. And you kind of, everything just comes more easily to you. So I love how you
Mhm.
shared that.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, so what was there a defining moment in your own entrepreneurial journey when you realized that strategy alone wasn't enough? And like what part of that journey was it, like 2, 3 years in, or did you know like the first year itself?
It's what I built my business on. That situation happened, and again, I wanted to shout it from the rooftops, and I just thought everybody needs to experience this. Everybody really does need to adopt this as a skill in life and in business. And so losing my mother was that catalyst for me to evaluate my life and the work that I was doing and the organizations that I was working for. Fortunately, at the time, it was a nonprofit. It was a very toxic work environment, causing a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm. And I was like you, very much an overachiever, doing all of those things, but wasn't getting the recognition. I wasn't feeling valued. And the leadership was very top down and disconnected and also toxic and unhealthy. And it made me realize that I wasn't living up to my highest potential, that I was very good at the time at building other people's businesses and other people's dreams, but it was time for me to do that for myself as well. And so I literally started by gathering women in a park with blankets and asking deeper questions that we don't normally talk about, like what was it like growing up talking about your feelings with your family, with your
Yeah.
parents? How do you feel right now? How do you want to feel? And realizing that all of us were emotionally stunted and lacked emotional intelligence, particularly with our understanding of it and being able to identify those feelings and communicate those feelings and just going through that process. And it just grew and expanded from there. The workshops shifted into retreats. I worked with women, I worked with teens, I worked with couples, I worked with nonprofits, small businesses, corporations. And really what made me feel how it is that I wanted to feel was working with entrepreneurs. I've been in several businesses throughout my life, and I'm a creative person and I have an entrepreneurial soul, and I wanted to help other entrepreneurs do this by understanding the energetic intelligence piece as the architecture, as the foundation of their business, and build from that, create something that's not only sustainable, but to scale with soul instead of selling our soul, which is often happens when we become
Yeah.
entrepreneurs and start a business on our own. Yeah.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. And I can relate to all of this. I'm pretty sure everyone who's listening can relate because once you go into corporate, it's that, emotional catalyst that I love what you said, whether, we have a loss of a loved one, or for me, it was like I lost two of my grandparents at the same time, which actually was a catalyst for my business.
Mhm.
Because that's when I suppressed all my emotions. I was like, maybe I shouldn't like be sad or cry about it. There's a lot of that trauma that I had to go through and other things that happened. And, corporate never actually worked for me and I was pressuring it. There was just a lot of things that just didn't work for me. And there was just that trigger moment, that catalyst that forced me into the same thing that you were talking about, asking questions. And I would always ask, like, why? Like, why don't we talk about the real deep things? And that's exactly what Voices of Impact is about. So the conversations we're having, I'm like, how come no one ever talks about this? Like, I'm always on LinkedIn. It's always about AI and tech and all of that stuff. And I'm like, there's this other part that no one
Yeah.
ever talks about. I think we should be the first one. So
Mhm.
I'm so glad you coined the term energetic intelligence. I can't emphasize how important this is. And I just got into this energetic intelligence like not even 6 months ago. And I'm already seeing a huge impact in my own life, in my own business, my own energy. So I love how you're kind of helping everyone out there with retreats and all of that and really doing a great job. So I love
Thank you.
how this work is so valuable. And thank you so much for sharing that. And we'd love to learn a little bit more about how this is different from your traditional leadership development. I know we lead with our soul, but can you explain a little bit more about how this is very different from your typical traditional way of business growth?
Absolutely. I want to be transparent and in integrity first. I didn't coin energetic intelligence. I thought I did. I mean,
Oh,
I came up with this idea. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is how we articulate this. Like this is the body of work that I'm building out." And when I went through the process of trademarking and researching it, I realized that there was one other person that was using it. And throughout this process as well, there's somebody in Europe who trademarked astrocartology, and she didn't come up with it at all. It was developed by somebody completely different. And just watching all of that unfold had me sit back in my own leadership. If we're stepping into this new paradigm and this is what it looks like, and if integrity is one of my top values, why would I want to trademark this? I want to tell everybody about this. And I would
yeah.
love for everybody to incorporate this into leadership and step into this new paradigm and not be, in these shackles or these handcuffs of not being able to do it because I decided that I'm going to own this and nobody else can use it. So I thought I did. I thought it was like a really great idea. I'm like, shoot, one other person that I can find is using this in her work. So I just wanted to be fully transparent about that.
Okay.
Traditional leadership focuses on managing behavior, performance, and outcomes. That's what we are all used to. Energetic leadership, becoming an energetic leader, supports you to focus on the internal energetic state that creates the outcomes. So again, rather than these external data points, we're
Yeah.
focusing on the internal data points. We're looking at things like, how does their nervous system feel?
Mhm.
How is it that they want to feel in the work that they do within this team, within this project? How can we define success in terms of the emotions? At the end of the day, one of my mentors taught me this and it's always stuck with me. At the end of the day, if it doesn't feel how it is that we want to feel, is it actually a victory? And it,
Right.
it doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't going to be bumps along the road, that, there aren't going to be like late nights where we're focusing on things to get everything done. It doesn't mean that every single step of the way is going to be a high vibrational emotion or frequency, but it means that we always have this compass to reflect back to internally to see if something's in alignment or out of alignment, make a different choice to then determine a different outcome instead of pushing or forcing or staying in the hustle. Instead, we're choosing heart over hustle. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for everyone listening, it's very important because there are some people who don't understand the difference. And they're like, yeah, but how does that help with like business, right? Isn't always about metrics and numbers and when you're coming from a high achieving standpoint, and that's very normal to begin with. But when we look at this is like a very, like you said, a very new paradigm. I learned it through my lived experiences. So sometimes you have to like experience it, but it's like a pressure test, like just try something. So for example, for me, rather than looking at it like usually when I'm in a conversation or I'm like looking for a potential client, I'm on a call, I'm always like, hey, they're great on paper. This is my typical ICA, ideal client, checks the boxes, all of that, right? We're looking at the external. But internally, after the conversation was over, I was pretty much drained. We did not align on a lot of things. There was a misunderstanding, right? So the energy was off. And it's just look, what Anne said. It's really about the emotions. What emotions come up? How do you feel in your body? And that's misaligned. And like to Anne's point, you really realize like, is this the kind of client that I want to work with or the person I want to work with? Versus now we look at people anytime I get on a conversation or a call, I'm like not looking what's on paper, right? I'm more like, hey, are we actually vibing? Do we have similar values? If I value collaboration and they also value collaboration, we want to co-create. Yes, it's going to align. It's more easier, and you're not going to have to push that person to get on a call with you and everything. So, of course, if you want to first really focus, we're so focused on ROI, especially in entrepreneurship, but the ROI and the metrics is really the success is how are you really feeling today? Are you actually expanding? Are you really enjoy? And I know that Anne and I were talking about this right before we came on the podcast is we're both like I was excited about my own launch and Anne's excited about her event on Saturday. And yes, we do have a lot of work to do, but it doesn't feel like work when you're more energetically aligned. So we want to focus on the energetic piece first and then see, okay, are you strategically aligned, right? So that's very, very important. And thank you so much for
Mhm.
sharing the difference because people are still unaware of these things, right? So you and I might be like, hey, we're in it, but some listeners might be like, there's the operational piece, but what do you mean by energetic? So,
Mhm. Mhm.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And going into energetics a little bit more. So, what are some of the common energetic leaks you see holding entrepreneurs back from growing? And how can they find the solution to that? Or how do you solve that?
The common energetic leaks, relationships, number
Yeah,
one,
absolutely.
always number one. It's as soon as there is a partnership or a collaboration or a team, a connection with two people, and if there's a misalignment in terms of that energy as you were speaking to, then that's a massive energetic leak. And then take it a step further, if there isn't a level of communication there, a high level of communication to be able to navigate and work through those things, say conflict management, that's the second energetic leak. And I would say also that, coming back to what I said before, focusing on the external rather than the internal. So understanding that our internal operating system is the ultimate KPI or ROI. I call this evidence of flow or omens of alignment that, when we say to somebody, follow your gut instincts or follow your intuition, many people don't understand what that means, especially corporate world or from a leadership perspective. And it's coming back to, how does my nervous system feel? How do I want to feel? Is this feeling how it is that I want to feel? Is this the vision that I had? And is this unfolding? And any time that any of those things are off, that's an energetic leak. There's also misaligned clients. As we talk about relationships, there's many people that will say yes to a contract or say yes to a client, again, thinking that, well, on paper, this makes sense, and ignoring that intuitive piece that there's something off.
Yeah.
One of the things that I learned when I was recruiting mentors, when I was guiding them through that process, the application process, and interviewing them, the one thing that I did love about that organization is that they told us that if for any reason this was a no, and there doesn't have to be any logic behind it, then you get to deny this application.
Yeah. Wow.
And I really valued and appreciated that and have definitely carried that through into my business, that even if it would be nice to have the extra money in my pocket, even if it would be nice to have, another seat at the table, if there's something that feels off, then it's actually going to cause a lot more conflict and a lot more drama and cause a lot more time, energy, resources than I wanted. And that's going to cause a massive energetic leak. There's also entrepreneurs have a tendency, if I work in the field with healers, coaches, intuitives, empaths, the creatives in all different industries. And what I also see is that people pleasing
Yeah.
as an energetic leak, like saying yes when they really want to say no. And it's not just to the clients, it could be a soulmate client that they're working with, but that person has reached out to them. It's outside of office hours. They let their boundaries down and they respond to that message. And all of a sudden they're working when it's outside of working hours. It's that people pleasing tendency to say yes when they actually want to say no. So I would say those are the 2, 3 biggest energetic leaks. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you put it it's very neatly how you said that because exactly the people pleasing thing is a huge thing that bothers me. And it's not just in business. I love what you said is relationships, right? So I come from like a toxic family, obviously, and the environment that even though maybe your business is doing well, your environment and your personal life is very important. There are times when my energy leaked a lot when I literally I'm a very straightforward person and I'm
Mhm.
decisive. So I'm like, it's a yes or a no for me, right? And I've been very clear, but everyone keeps coming in and leaving. Like it's like they ghost me suddenly, and I'm just like, that's complete energy leak for me.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful about who's around you, environment on a personal level too. And then in your business, like I love what you said about soulmate clients, right? You really have to get super clear. Like I said, just not on paper, but how do you want to feel? And this one person told me when I was talking to a mentor, she was like, write down your ideal client, but how do you not your ideal client on paper, right? Because that's what we're used to. My mentors used to tell me, like, okay, write down your ICA. Where do they live? How old are they? How many years in business? So that's what I'm used to, right? But now it's more like I'm like, no, how do I feel with this person? Are they really in their integration exploration phase? Or are they really serious about their business growth? Or are they in between?
Mhm.
And I want to talk about the in between phase. A lot of us are in that in between phase. We call it the liminal space. And it's very normal, right? And that sometimes might cause, if you talk to someone in the in between phase and they're still trying to figure things out, you need to be clear about that as well. Is this the kind of person I want in my community? Because someone who's already in their in between phase in their personal life and you're going to collaborate with them, that's a lesson I'm learning currently, is they're going to show up first and then go out. And that's exactly what happened recently. She was like in and out with me. Right. And I was like, I can't do the in and out. Right. So you have to get clear on what you want, how you feel, and how are they showing. And does it align with who you're becoming and your business growth? Right. So
Mhm.
it's all about alignment energetically and your values.
Mhm.
My business partnership actually just ended, and she's an intuitive business coach. I was more of doing my inner work, so I'm a little bit expanding. I'm in the expansion phase and she's more slowing down, and we were having that frustration piece. Something somewhere was just misaligned when it comes to communication, like Anne said, and expectations. There's nothing like, again, we didn't have any like bad blood or anything. We
Mm.
were actually very good soul sisters. Like, we weren't really in it personally, but when it came to the energetic piece, it was a mismatch.
Mm.
And maybe sometimes we don't know if we should listen to our intuition, but I do really believe in the universe, and the universe sometimes might block that and end it like themselves, right? It might just end on its own. So you'll understand that sometimes things end because you're completely blocked if it's not in the same frequency, and that's a good thing.
Mhm.
It's not a bad thing. And the more aligned ones come in.
Mhm.
Right. So you want to be very careful. This is a huge thing I wanted to kind of emphasize on right now, because if you don't audit your energy on a daily basis
Mm.
or every even 10 minutes, like, is this the person I'm talking to? If I post a content, am I really focused on getting likes, or am I focused on really sharing my story? So it's like these small things can make a difference. Right.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. I agree with that. Yeah.
yeah, thank you for sharing all of these important
Mhm.
pieces of, even if it seems small, but it's actually a big thing.
No, they're
Because that's what
huge. Yeah.
it is,
Yeah.
because that's the major bottleneck
Yeah.
actually, is it's not only the people, it's our energy, it's the capacity we have.
Yeah.
We think we want something, but do we have the capacity for it? And that's my next question about nervous system. What happens when someone's vision is there and it expands faster than their nervous system can hold, right? So, how would you navigate there? How would you help someone navigate?
Great question. We're always focusing on bounce back rate in my community. So that's the ability to, again, energetic intelligence is the ability to understand, feel, interpret, articulate, and transmute energy. This is one of the collective purposes that we all have here on earth is to transmute energy. So it literally is about identifying where it is that I'm at. Energy is a spectrum. There's a low vibration, there's a high vibration, and there's all the feels in between. And it's us having the capacity to be able to transmute that energy and move it into a higher vibration or a higher frequency, I would say, in a short amount of time. And the reason I'm saying this is it's okay for us to be angry. Anger is a healthy expression, can be. It's a message. It's letting you know, again, something's not in alignment. A boundary has been crossed. When you learn how to feel that anger and process it in a healthy way, it moves into a state of passion, higher vibrational state. What does passion do? Passion lights a fire under our ass in order to do something. Okay. When we move into inspired action and we do something about it, again, that vibration, that feeling elevates to compassion. So it's about understanding that energetic spectrum of the
Hmm.
frequency of that vibration and learning how to improve your bounce back rate. So, instead of being angry for days, we
Yeah.
move to this place of maybe it takes us 90 seconds to process that anger, which that really is how long it takes for us to process an emotion, a feeling. And it peaks at 30 seconds. So anytime our life we're sitting in challenges, we're sitting in struggles, we can't get past that ceiling, it's because typically we're avoiding 30 seconds, 30 seconds of a feeling in order to transmute that. And then, like, let's use that example again. Anger, anytime we're angry, it's a clear indication that a boundary has been crossed. If a boundary has been crossed, then we come back to those energetic leaks. Do you have clear boundaries? Do you have clear expectations? What are your standards? What are your values? And are you clearly articulating that to the other person? And all we can do is take responsibility for what we've done or we haven't done. We can't force another person to act or behave in a different way. It's unfortunately, it's all on us, because that's the way the world works. So we take responsibility for our part in it and we improve on that. And sometimes that also means in a business, if there's an energetic leak because the system's not in place. What was the onboarding process like? What does the contract look like? Does the contract have your standards? Does the contract clearly explain who it is that you are? Have you had conversations with the person beforehand, right, to get to know each other? We're going through this in the Master Heart Mastermind right now, where everybody's looking at their astro numerology blueprint so that they can clearly articulate who they are, their standards, their values, their heart compass, how they want the project to feel. So when they move into a partnership or a collaboration, which all of them are doing, which is going to help them in their 10-time expansion, then there's those foundational pieces that are there. The energetic architecture is there so that another person can come on board. They can see where maybe there's gaps in their own energetic blueprint that they would want to partner with somebody else to, have really great synergy with each other. Or if it's a mismatch, and you know what, this isn't going to work. And even if we step into partnerships and collaborations, it's part of the process. Like, every single relationship dynamic is going to go through a storming phase. Every single one. Again, at the beginning, have you set something in place to discuss how you're going to navigate conflict together? One person might be an avoidant and another person might be sending multiple texts like, can you call me? Can you talk to me? Can we have this discussion? And the other person is like, I just need space. And that's going to cause even more problems and energetic leaks because there wasn't that initial communication of like how we're going to navigate that. And when we have those things, this is, I don't really love this saying, but it's so true. If you understand all of this about yourself and you have your energetic architecture and you can clearly articulate that and communicate that, then, and hold those boundaries, hold those energetic boundaries clearly. And, from this very centered and grounded and kind and loving and compassionate and caring place, then sometimes the trash takes itself out. You don't even have to be the one to say, this isn't working for me. That person just exits on their own. And then you don't have to be the one that fires the person or lets them go or says that this isn't working. It just ends up being like a natural kind of cord cutting separation. And you can both move forward, live in your life, feeling how it is that you want to feel. No harm, no foul. And everybody just carries on, hopefully living their best life.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you touch on so many things personally and professionally. And everything is what I think a lot of people can relate. And so can I. It's really like you said, you have to like sit with those feelings, even if it's like for 30 seconds. I wouldn't even say it for 2, 3 days. Like, if you were on a weekend, just really sit with what you're feeling. And then if you are feeling it, when I feel angry, I think it happened like recently and it took me like 1 or 2 days, but then that bounce back rate was quick. I was like, okay, why am I feeling like this? I had to go back into my own like overcoming my patterns and all of that. And then I was able to go back into, okay, so let me look at it from a different lens, a different perspective. And I was showing more compassion and care for that person, right? So I love how you talked about like there's these like metrics or numbers you have, but in the form of energetics, which is great. And with entrepreneurship, I totally agree. It's currently, I'll share my own story of my vision, right? So I'm used to like starting out with the strategy and then going into the vision, right? The numbers and all of that. So recently, I changed my business model and I'm building a community. And I was like, this is the vision that the universe gave me. I followed my intuition. And I started the collaborations and partnership, and I currently have about 7 or 8. And each person I had to go through a conversation. And we all got together for like a meeting. And I love what Anne said was really articulate what your communication styles are. So we literally sat in a call for 1 hour and I was asking each person, like, what is your communication style? Is mine's very direct and I just don't like the people pleasing, like in and out thing. Like sometimes people do that to me or giving hints. So I had to like ask that question in a very compassionate way. We worked together as a team. And she was like, hey, like I'm just very direct, get straight to the point.
Mhm.
And everyone was like that. And I also looked at what everyone's zone of genius is. And I love how you do that in your mastermind. If one's energetically, like if someone is really good at connection, but not really good at like tech or systems or
Mhm.
onboarding, they were like, hey, I can like help you with that. And I was like, hey, my zone of genius is connection and speaking. Maybe I'm not the best at messaging. She was like, hey, yeah, like I can help with messaging. Right.
Mhm.
So really being the leader and taking initiative, understanding like this is what I want to need. These are the different, if you have a couple like a multi-partnership, what does everyone need and want? What is their zone of genius and strengths? And really articulate it and set the expectations ahead of time. And like you, to your point, like you said, it doesn't leak the energy as much.
Mhm.
Right. So, and then you have to see how, for example, building a community is right. It's definitely difficult, right? And knowing that what makes you nervous, what makes you so like tensed up. So
Mhm.
for me, I use too many AI tools in my back end and so many funnels that makes me go berserk. Right. So I was like, let's just stick with I use Go High Level. So I use Go High Level, everything's a
Yeah.
CRM, a simple landing page. Keep it super simple
Yeah.
so that your nervous system, your vision's like quick and you're getting so many people in. You
Mhm.
don't have to have like a multi-page website just because someone else is doing it
Mhm.
or like a 1 2 hour webinar, right? It could just be a 20-minute of you just speaking,
Mhm.
right? And people are like, I've seen a lot of people post content every day as soon as they have a launch. I had a launch yesterday. I did not post content every day. I'm not freaking out. I'm
Mhm.
just like taking the time. I'm people being a go getter. I have like a deadline, right? I was like, I have to launch. And I did launch yesterday, but I was like, let it go slow. What if I don't get so many members this month? Like, what's going to happen? Right. We're
Mhm.
still in the joy. It's about the frequency. I
Mhm.
still have my collaborators. We'll figure it out. So having that figure it out, we're all going to figure it out together mentality.
Mhm.
It's going to happen. And coming in with that abundance energy
Mhm.
is very key. And if even if your vision's expanding, but you're still sometimes externally, there's a little bit of a lag. And that's something that caused a little bit of tension for me at like why didn't it show up the way I wanted to show up.
Mhm.
But I think also another thing I want to talk about is letting go of control and surrendering
Mhm.
because we need to know immediately is it gonna happen, right? It's like my vision's here, but reality hasn't formed yet. Why didn't it happen? And I'm that kind of a person. But I was like, well, okay, fine, it didn't work yet. Let it take another 5 6 months. Enjoy the process.
Mhm.
Enjoy the small win. We actually launched today. Someone said they, enjoyed my podcast, like enjoy the moment. And the more you're enjoying it and you're serving, the more it will come. Right.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Joy
absolutely.
joy is the disruptor. It is the greatest
Yes.
disruptor. As soon as
Yeah.
something feels off, then disrupt it with joy. And that
Mhm.
doesn't mean pushing through or pushing harder or staying in the overwhelm or staying in, this energy where we're forcing or performing or hustling. It sometimes means going to the beach or just
Exactly.
laying in a hammock and reading a book, staring at the clouds, like something simple again that just allows our energy. This is energetic hygiene for me, right?
Yeah.
It's cleansing and clearing that. Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. And if
Mhm.
you need to just take a step back and to your point, like just have a little bit of fun. Like if you
Mhm.
want, it could be just as simple as wearing your favorite dress and going out and
Yeah.
not thinking about, oh my God, I didn't have that. I launched it. I didn't have a member coming in. Like, no, like it's
Mhm.
just because I have some people who are still in this and they're like, hey, like I don't know where that client is. I need to get a client. And that goes back into that scarcity energy
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
when you go back to it, you kind of have to start being aware,
Mhm.
right? So having that awareness of
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going back to my old ways or my old energy. No, like, and I love how you said like the bounce back thing,
Mhm. Mhm.
the
Mhm.
quicker, the better. But you
Mhm.
have to keep practicing that. I know probably you'll have a tool for your clients because that is the key is how you quickly bounce back to it and
Mhm.
understand that it's part of the process and
It is.
nothing's wrong with you or nothing's wrong with your business and your model and it's going the wrong way because immediately we think it's not going to work. Oh my God. And then go back to switching our strategy every, 1 month. Like you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
It's like recalibrating. It's going to take some time. We need to trust ourselves and trust the process,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
what the nervous system is all about.
Mm-hmm. You're touching on many aspects of energetic intelligence. Divine intelligence supports us and cosmic intelligence supports us in understanding that vision, but it also supports us in understanding two basic things. So God, goddess, all that is, source, universe, creator, whatever you want to call it. We are in this electromagnetic field of Earth. We have our own electromagnetic field as well, and we're always tapping into that to stabilize it. And everything runs off of fear or love.
Hmm.
So when we feel we're in that state of fear, and our nervous system will tell us that, right? There's the level of awareness that we're meant to bring into it. And I do an exercise and encourage my clients to do this as well, to do fear setting, just like we do goal setting. Okay, what's the worst possible case scenario that could happen? But like, let's just go there and let's just name it. All of
Yeah.
it in its totality. This is terrible, awful, horrible. I feel like a complete failure. Like, let's talk about that. And then let's backtrack it in terms of, okay, what are the things that I could do to potentially mitigate this, to make sure that this doesn't happen? So then again, we're tapping into the masculine energetics of this, of like, what systems and structures can I put in place? What goals, what steps, what things can I take action on in order to ensure that this doesn't happen? And then, coming back to, again, what's my heart compass? How do I want this to feel? And what are the lessons that I could potentially learn? What are the insights and the opportunities for growth if this terrible, awful, horrible thing actually happens? If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to fail. It's inevitable. It's about failing forward instead of
Right.
flailing. So again, it comes back to the data points. There's the physical data points, maybe the numbers, right? The metrics, but then there's the energetic data points as well. What's beautiful is that cosmic intelligence, which is astronumerology. As soon as we know a birth date, we can look at all the data points in terms of who it is that you are, how you're wired to lead, how your nervous system is wired, how your energy, how you're meant to manage your energy, how you manage other people. We can look at your communication styles. We can look at your soulmate client. So all of a sudden, the vision becomes extremely clear because you're literally encoded in a purpose. So we look
Right.
at that, and then immediately your nervous system softens because it's a giant cosmic universal permission slip to just go and be who it is that you came here to be. You were
Right.
talking about my communication is direct. I'm not going to apologize for that. I don't
Yeah.
have any tolerance for passive aggressiveness. I also do not tolerate excuses. I do not tolerate people who don't take responsibility for their own actions. Period, full stop. If you
Yeah.
don't like that, we're not in alignment and we're not meant to work with each other.
Yeah.
Take
Exactly.
responsibility. I don't want to hear excuses. There's a problem. Let's just talk about the solution and move towards that energy of solving the problem, figuring it out, and ensuring that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Exactly.
it's an energetic leak, right? Otherwise, it's just wasting so much time and energy and resources and sleep, possibly, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And exactly what you said sometimes you call it logic or ego. And if
Mm-hmm.
ego comes into the picture even a little bit, that's why it's very important to choose the right people. And it's okay, right? Like, ego comes just from the place of people are still trying to figure themselves out and they're in that in between phase and the soul versus the mind. And, nothing, it's on them and that's fine. It's just like you talked about, this is where I am. I'm healed. I'm in that higher frequency. I'm here to collaborate, find a solution. And that's exactly what I do with my collaborators. She was like a little bit, well, there's one person was in and out, and I was like, happy to, adjust with your thing. But at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
there is that strategy, there is that systems in place that's very important to me as
Mm-hmm.
the creator of this community. But I'm happy to be flexible, have that masculine, feminine in between,
Yeah.
and say in a compassionate way. And then what I did is, for example, where she was supposed to host a master class, and I was like, I knew her time and her bandwidth was a little low. And depending on that, I was like, okay, I think this would be a better fit for you. So I told her to do maybe like a quick Reiki workshop. And she was like, yeah, I think that is my zone of genius.
Mhm.
And we worked through our communication styles. We actually found a solution, then trying to figure out, well, this is not what it is. Like, oh my God, like you don't understand. Right. So
Mhm.
just kind of trying to find a solution quickly by understanding. It's just kind of like you said, bounce back like a muscle, right? You just have to
Yeah.
keep practicing that. And in the beginning, I was like, I chose like the wrong people. But now the more I practice and the more I talk to people, and like some collaborators worked out, some collaborators I just had to decline because I was very direct. And I was like, I can't do like the in between thing anymore. And I said that to my own romantic partner. I was like, we can't do the in between.
Yeah.
I can't right now. I'm past that. I used to be like that. This is a
Mhm.
newer version of me. And
Mhm.
he was like, "Okay, fine, sure, no worries. I'll come
Mhm.
back when I'm ready." And yeah, it's fine, right? It's not the end of the world. And sometimes they will come when they're ready. They might not. We have to find the people who are aligned,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
and I love how I wanted to get into that question of you talked about numerology.
Mhm.
So that's something that is new to me, even though my family's talked about it a little bit, but we'll have to learn from you, and I'm pretty sure all
Mm.
the listeners. So how does the numerology of business method, like how does it help entrepreneurs better understand themselves and their businesses? If you can go a little bit like deeper in that.
Absolutely. Numerology supports us with people, planning, purpose, and profits. All the things, all the four foundational pillars of a business. Numerology can support us to really see all of that very clearly. What I love about it is that it's thousands and thousands of years old. We talk about data points. You've got thousands and thousands of years of proof that this system that's rooted in math and science, the accuracy is off the charts. Astronumerology is the only thing that I have seen at this level of accuracy. And I say this as somebody who worked in corporate team building for a very long time. I have done all the things. I have done all the personality testing and all those things. And the accuracy is just absolutely mind-blowing. And it's layered, it's complex, but I love its simplicity. There's two aspects of it. There's our own personal energetic coding, and then there's also the universal energetic coding. So what I mean by that is 2026 is a universal one energy year. So we've began a 9-year manifestation cycle. 2 plus 2 plus 6 is 10. So it's like the 10 time effect this year. That's why we all feel like, why am I going through this death rebirth? Like, what? So many people showed up in the June energy forecast and they're like, what the heck was May all about? Like, and I call it middle child energy of just this. Yeah. Anyways, it's this rebirth energy. This new identity is being formed because it's the beginning of a 9-year manifestation cycle. June is a 7 energy month. So that also informs us that this is a very action oriented month. It hangs out in the physical plane. We want to make sure that there's a lot of movement, particularly physical movement. We're taking care of our physical bodies. We're looking at that. We're making decisions, we're making aligned decisions, and we're also being careful because 7 energy can be somewhat of a procrastinator or indecisive. So asking ourselves what's happening if we're not taking, inspired action, if we're not saying yes, if we're not deciding, then, what's the information here? What are the data points here that are going to help me tune into my intuition to actually say yes to something or make a move on something? So there's the universal, and then there is our personal. So what the universal does for us is really supports us in our strategic planning. In my opinion, every successful business person has an astrologer or a numerologer in their back pocket. They won't admit it, but they do. They understand divine timing and the natural cycles and rhythms and patterns that our planet, our universe goes through. There are certain things that I've been able to predict that have happened on the world stage. Like, I'm not somebody like Nostradamus where I'll know in exact detail what it looks like, but I can tell when there's going to be a conflict and, if it's on the political stage and et cetera, because of looking at the energetics of the numbers and astronumerology. So I love using this for strategic planning. We have the universal, and then there's also strategic planning based on our own energetic code. So personally, I'm in a 6 energy year. So I'm playing with a 1-6 in terms of the grander scheme for me of 2026. What does that look like? So it means a lot of new beginnings. new chapters, maybe even a new book, maybe writing a book. The 6 energy is also wanting me to organize, declutter, make things beautiful, make things pretty. So I'm like revamping my website as well, revamping my content and messaging, but also like upgrading the brand as well to be a better representation of myself and who it is that I'm attracting. When we look at the individual's energetic code, we start with the foundations, which is simple. It's your birthday divided into individual digits. And the first primary currency that you carry in your energetic leadership code is the totality of that from 2 to 10, 11, 22, or 33. And if people are like, what are you talking about? How do I figure this out? Take a breath. Head to AnnMarieMcKenzie.com. It's on my homepage. Your energetic leadership code, it has how to calculate this quite easily and will give you insights in terms of your ruling number. It will let you know your strengths and your gifts, how your nervous system is wired, where your challenges and struggles are, what your soulmate clients are naturally attracted to. And there's a breakdown in terms of yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So that's your primary currency. The day that you are born is your secondary currency. So I'm born on the 29th, 2 plus 9 equals 11. So I carry that secondary currency of 11 energy. My first is 3, my second is 11. So that 3-11 energy says that I'm very creative. I expand ideas. Abundance is my birthright, but I also have to be very careful of scarcity mindset and my anxiety when it shows up. It's because I'm afraid there's not enough. There's not enough time. There's not enough money. There's not enough resources. So as soon as I feel that fear in my nervous system is saying that, I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm broadcasting anxiety and fear of not enoughness.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do to shift that? Usually I disrupt with joy. That's my answer to everything, whether it's getting on the walking pad, getting outside, jumping on my trampoline, painting something, whatever joy looks like, putting music on, dancing around, singing something. I love singing in my car. And then that shifts into creator and expander of ideas. And that a lot of people that come into my world, it's not a coincidence. They have multiple ones in their chart. And the reason why they're attracted to me is because they have too many ideas, but they see this as a problem. It's not a problem. It's a great problem to have. They have too many ideas and they're like, I don't know which one to pick. And they're afraid of choosing the wrong one, not realizing there's no such thing as a wrong choice. It's all an opportunity for growth. But they come to me because I support them to see their energetic coding and blueprint. And then they go, oh, it's literally written in the stars, my purpose and who it is that I am and what it is that I came here to do. So this idea is the idea that makes sense. And when we unpack that a little bit more, sometimes the other ideas are a replication of what somebody else is doing. They see success for somebody else doing a particular strategy a certain way. And they're like, well, I think that I should do that because so-and-so is successful, but it's not actually how they're wired for success.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes even deeper. There are arrows of influence. So I have the arrow of the planner, for example, 1, 2, 3 in my birthday, which means I have to have a plan. And again, those multiple ones, they have all the ideas and they're like, I don't know what to do with it. I'm like, that's cool. I'll help you make a plan. That's what I do. Strategy is one of my top strengths. And then I have the arrow of activity, 7, 8, 9, which means I know how to take things across the finish line, but not only take something to completion, but have the Midas touch. Everything that I do turns to gold. I haven't always remembered this or adopted it or really owned it. But isn't that really cool? Isn't that amazing, right? To see it on paper, like this is who you came here to be. And then to move into that energy of, right, everything I do does turn to gold and my creativity does equal abundance. And so that is what attracts my soulmate clients to me. But we go even deeper in terms of astronumerology and we begin to understand that we have, see how passionate I am about this? I love this. We're connected to the planets. We have a moon card, a sun card, a theme for our life. We have Pluto, tells us where to take inspired action. We have our cosmic reward that tells us who our soulmate clients are. We have energy in Mercury, in Venus, in Mars, in Jupiter, in Saturn, in Uranus, and Neptune. And all of that is coded in a deck of cards. So numerology, thousands of years ago, recognized these energetic patterns and cycles and realized that this information in the wrong hands could be used for manipulation and control. So a secret society was birthed, whether I agree with that or not. They had the right intentions. and they hid the information in a deck of cards. So that way, when anybody saw them doing astronumerology, they would think that they were just playing games. So a deck of cards reveals to us so much. So there's the 4 suits, the 4 seasons. There's 52 cards in a deck. There's 52 weeks in a year. When you add up the totality of a deck of cards, it's 364. Add in the 2 jokers, 365.5. There's 13 cards in every suit. There's 13 moon cycles. So you can see exactly how it was created to represent the cycles and patterns of Earth. So then from a business lens, from a business perspective, again, let's look at Pluto. To simplify it, Pluto is a planet of inspired action. Literally lights a fire under us and tells you this is what you're meant to do. So you're like, okay, this is who I am and this is my purpose and my leadership style. Then Pluto says, now go do this in order to fulfill it. And then the cosmic reward says, these are the clients that you're coded to. So just go be who it is that you are. And then the universe will reward you with this energy. And that's your soulmate clients. So again, there's just this profound realization and cosmic universal permission slip to just go be who it is that I am and who my soul chose to be in this lifetime. And that's how we end up attracting our soulmate clients, the ones that are in complete alignment, that love exactly who it is that you are and that want the medicine that you have. Because through this coding, you've gone through challenges and trials and tribulations and spiritual assignments. You've gone through losses, you've gone through tragedies, right? And all of that has allowed this story to unfold that you also came here to help people solve a particular group of problems. That's what we're here to do, is to serve, to be of service to humanity, right? And one of the biggest energetic leaks and challenges, especially at the beginning of somebody's business, is they try to be everything to everybody. Instead of getting really clear, I don't really love the term niche. And I don't really love telling people that you have to have one niche because again, I work with people that have those multiple ones and they're not somebody who sits in one lane, but it is about choosing one thing, one problem to solve, one particular soulmate client to articulate and build the systems and the structures, create sustainability within that, create success within that, and then grow and expand into the next thing. Okay, I just said a lot in a very short period of time. I told you I was passionate about it. I love it.
I can see that. I love it.
It's literally a map. Your soul chose that date. And because of that, this is your map. And so the only thing there is for us to do is to follow that blueprint. And we have a forecast every single year too. Well, what am I meant to focus on this year? And we look at the forecast and the forecast will tell us. And gosh, that is just it has such a calming effect on our nervous system because instead of thinking we have to do all these things, we get to focus our energy on something that feels really good, feels in alignment. And chances are your intuition has already been telling you that in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's a big confirmation, massive validation. And I don't love seeking outside of ourselves for validation, but we're human. Like it's really nice. We have to make a lot of decisions as entrepreneurs. It's really nice for somebody to say, hey, this is what you're meant to do. And for you to say, oh, good, because that's what I was thinking and feeling as well. Right. So
exactly.
Just helps you call your power back, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Like, no, I just loved how you're passionate. First one, you just lit up. And second of all, like I had no idea like this was actually even a thing. And I'm learning a lot from you because we, like to your point, we're stuck in like, where are the soul's clients? How do I get them? All this stuff.
Mhm.
And then there's this like blueprint and your numerology that literally says like, this is what you're meant to do. Like now you know it and you just need to be in joy and serve to get there. And that's just amazing. And that's so cool. And thank you so much for sharing all of this. And it's like so new. That's why I get on these, calls because I learn from others and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like even when you talk about it, my nervous system's already like calm now. I'm like, oh, okay. Like maybe I need to like learn from Anne and then I can just kind of relax and I don't have to like get that validation from something else or go back into my logic. But like to your point, what you just said was true, right? When you listen to your gut, your intuition, you keep practicing that, you're meant to do this, right? I just, for example, changed my business model to this energetics piece first. And I didn't know it was a thing until like 5 months ago. And I lived through that and I went through my own spiritual awakening and everything. And I was like, right now, you know how much of joy I'm in right now, and I'm not
Mm,
worried about where my soul clients are. I'm just serving, right? I'm just here unconditionally be like, hey, here are some resources. I, if I can do it, why can I help other women do it, right?
mhm,
And reach their full potential. Let's do this together. And if it's not aligned, it's totally fine.
mhm,
If it is aligned, whoever it is, like I found my soul collaborators already, and I know my soul clients are going to come in soon. And to your point with astrology, I'm a Hindu. So a lot of people, a lot of my family looks into astrology. And she currently did that with now. It's like some kind of like Jupiter and the planets. And she read mine and was super accurate. And I was like, oh my God, I had no idea. I wish
yeah,
I'd known this before because I was worried about is my business going to be successful or not. And it did say I was going through this spiritual awakening for 10 years. And I call it this like this karmic influences. And
mhm,
now that I will be focus more on collaboration all of a sudden and different ways of being and financial freedom, and I didn't even know that, and then it said the right thing for astrology. So a lot of it is some people don't believe in it, and that's okay, but sometimes it is true
mhm,
depending on your planets and your numbers like you said. But I love how you help others because this is like something I really like. It's very fascinating for me, and I know it's really nice for bringing awareness to it as part
mhm,
of the energetic intelligence and
mhm,
how it can really help someone build a business without the stress and the hustle and the grind and worrying so
mhm,
much about where's my next client? Am I in the right direction all the time? So
mhm.
thank you so much for
You're
sharing
welcome.
this.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, and I know you touched on this a bit, but just what would you say to a founder who feels stuck listening to this? And they're just like, "Ugh, I'm just listening to it and I really want to be like you guys, but I invested in every strategy, course, business framework available. What would you say to a founder and the first step they can take today?"
To be able to tap into energetic intelligence for their leadership. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, just basically what we had talked about, whoever is listening, is first, I would say get clarity on first, how do you really feel, right? So
Mhm,
if you're
mhm,
feeling the hustle and the grind and you're tired, why do you feel like that? Maybe there's a different way just for you. And why do you want the external validation? Why do you want to follow someone else's blueprint when you have your own internal
mm,
blueprint,
mm,
right?
mhm, mhm,
And where is that coming from, right? So, for example, when I was doing this identity, crisis, I was like, why am I following what my parents told me to do or my family told me to do? Where is that conditioning coming from? And I had to go within first before I even went to the energetics. I went through the identity for the past 6 months. I was just going in like, what do I truly value? Not my family, not anyone else. What do I want? Because there are times when I was like, should I just go back to corporate? I want the 9 to 5.
right.
Right now, like for example, I shifted my business model financially. The revenue is inconsistent, but if I work for a Silicon Valley with my cousin, maybe I'll get like 300K, right? Let me just go back to the easy life.
Mhm,
And then I had to think about, no, I'm here. What's my why? What's my purpose, bro?
mhm,
I'm not like others. I'm a rebel, and this is who I truly am. And I need to be apologetic about who I truly am.
mhm,
And this is my thing. This is my purpose. That's what God, universe told me to do. And I need to stick with it. Right. And
mm,
I had to get super strong in my own identity.
mhm,
And then I went into the energetics piece. And then it's like, hey, now it's the strategy of building the systems, building the community. Right.
mhm,
So that's kind of the blueprint I show my clients is
mhm.
the first thing I would say is just really know who you are and what you value.
Yeah.
Right. So, and thank you for sharing that as
Yeah,
well.
when you asked that question, that's what happened. I had this like this download of like, well, figure out your why, know your heart compass, know how it is that you want to feel, understand your values. Like all of these things came through. And there was this, yes, it is all those things that is the foundation. But in order to even understand that and get clear in the energetic architecture, slow down to speed up. That's the final message in
Yeah.
terms of this. It's learning how to slow down in order to speed up. When I lost my mother and I got the support that I needed, one of the best things that a therapist did for me was ask me to carve out time. She said, "You're not allowed to schedule anything on Saturdays and Sundays." And that immediately threw my nervous system into a tizzy because I was so used to overscheduling. That's what
Yeah.
felt safe because I was avoiding. And I didn't want to do it because it didn't feel safe. And that is the portal. That is the activation here of, there's so many people that are saying, well, I need to regulate my nervous system and then I'll be able to do it. And I'm here to say, babe, no, that's not how it works. The
Yeah.
reason why you're dysregulated is because you don't feel safe. And the reason why you don't feel safe is because there's an invitation for you to grow and step into a new identity. And it doesn't feel safe because you've never done it before. And the only way that you're ever going to feel safe doing that is to do the thing that you're afraid of. And yes, there's resources and tools to access as you go through that. It's not about throwing yourself completely off kilter, right? We know that. We have our comfort zone. And if we step way too far outside of our comfort zone, we're never going to go back to it. It's like somebody who hasn't been to the gym in a long time. They show up at a class, the woman has them do 100 squats, and then they can't sit on the toilet without holding the tub, right? They're not going back to class on Thursday. Like, let's just name that. So it's about, the tiny steps that eventually will lead to the quantum leaps. That's what we're looking at. But that can't happen unless we learn how to slow down. The slowing down is what supports us to speed up. And in that slowing down, that's when we learn how to really hear and see and sense and be able to articulate and start to interpret the energy that's coming through, and working through heart coherence, allowing the mind and the heart to start working together in tandem, and then accessing our heart's intelligence, and then learning what our nervous system's homeostasis looks like, and then having a connection with divine intelligence. Again, God, Goddess, all that is, creator, source, universe, whatever you want to call it. Tapping into all of those aspects of energetic intelligence as you're slowing down to be able to know what that next right step is for you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love just exactly what you said. And it's 1000% true, is really like slowing down. And I know that's something I struggled with a lot, because I'm a huge go-getter. And even now, like I just naturally am aligning, expanding. When you're in expansion phase, you just want to keep going. And a lot of people are like, have told me, reminded me, like, slow down, like it's okay if it's not going to happen this month. Right. So, and I really take the time and carve, like, I love he said carve time. I was like, I'm not going to schedule any meetings. Saturday, Sunday, we tend to still work a bit. And I was like, no, okay, just put it aside, zero. Like, literally, I had to like force myself to slow down. And sometimes if you can't, like I said, God, universe, source will force you to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. You'll get sick or hurt.
Yes, I was sick. I was sick, and then I got COVID a year ago because literally I was burnt out. So my point is, don't do what I'm doing, but I want you to do it ahead of time and really think about before you even burn out, if you're feeling like drained or tired, even a little bit, and slow down and really understand. I love what you said about safety, because a lot of us who are listening, even the other wonderful women I've talked to, we've all been through a lot of pain. And like, I've been through the toxicity of my own family, a lot of people in corporate, a lot of, loss of loved ones, a lot of different things. A one person said she had a car accident. So we've been through a lot of trauma, and it's all suppressed. We never take the time to feel it, and we're not safe. So for my own example, I was always in unhealthy relationships. I never had a real sisterhood, true friendships, because it was always like competition over collaboration, and it wasn't feeling safe. So I was always like, should I go into this? But I was like, first, before I even did anything, I would go into environments just to feel it. Right. I was just like, how does it feel to be in like a very masculine container environment? Like, what does that mean for me? Right. So I didn't know what it felt like to have a healthy person to care for me, or to take care of me, or to show me that unconditional love. So I would just go into taking the mini step. I didn't think about business at all. Right. I started from my personal life and just step into a room. What would first I want to feel? What would I want to feel like someone is really making me feel seen and heard? That's what I do for others. Are they really listening? Are they being more present with me? And being in those rooms and finding that sisterhood first, and then you feel the safety. And then you go into like, okay, now I feel good. I'm okay, recalibrating my system internally. And then I even thought about like, okay, let me do this in the business way, right? So it's really important to feel safe within yourself.
Mhm.
I was finding safety from someone else, right? The external
Mm.
validation
Mhm.
from a lot of people. And my mentor was like, why are you looking at it? Why do you want safety or love for someone else? Why don't you do
Mm.
it for yourself? Why don't you find it within yourself
Mhm.
first?
Right?
And I didn't understand what that meant because as high achieving women, we're not used to it. No one asked us these questions, right? And
No.
I was like, what does that mean? I don't know if I feel safe in my body. Like, I didn't know what that meant.
Mhm.
Right. So I was like, I had to really do the work. And I was like, what does that feel like?
Mhm.
Right.
What does it
And
look like? Yeah.
yeah,
What
what
does
does
it
it
sound
look like?
like?
What's it feel like? What would my old self be scared, the scared
Mm.
anxiety person versus I call it the divine, yeah, we call it the divine feminine or their feminine energy,
Yeah.
or I called it like the divine feminine Mina. And my actual coach, she told me, Mina, sit down for a bit. And it was like a time where I just literally carved out 30 minutes. And she was like, just close your eyes and listen to your heart. And what would this old Vina say? And what would the new Vina say? How would she feel? How would she be on stage? How would she be doing her business? And that's when everything changed for me, right? I
Mhm.
was like, that's how it feels like. And I just kept visualizing that and I embodied it. And
Mhm.
the more I embodied it, I felt safer. And I was
Mhm.
like, I didn't even have to look at I didn't have to look for safety in a man or my other anyone else, right? And I was like, I felt whole. And that's when it starts. Like it just radiates that frequency and that energy. And then you got clarity on this is who I truly am. So I love
Mhm.
what you said and
Mhm.
very key points that we tend to think, like I said, it's just not that big of a deal, but it is. It's a
Mhm.
huge deal to feel whole within yourself and know what it looks like. Because
Mhm.
a lot of us, we've gone through a lot of struggles and trauma and all of
Yep.
that. So,
Yeah. As soon as we
so
feel unsafe, there is a wounded masculine, wounded feminine energy that is happening there.
yeah.
That is asking for some love, like you said. Yeah.
Yes, and my own friend, she felt the energy when I like a couple of months ago, and she told me she was like, "Just sit down for this weekend, Saturday. I'm not gonna let you do any work." And she was like, "What part of you is wounded, feminine? What part of you is
Mhm.
wounded, masculine?" On a
Mhm.
personal and a business level. And I literally sat down, I wrote it, and I was like, "Hmm." And she told me every person you meet or situation is a mirror of you. So
Mhm.
if someone is emotionally unavailable, that means somewhere in you there's emotional unavailability or some kind of
Mm.
unavailability or issue, or maybe if a communication style. If there is a misalignment, you have to find it within
Mm.
yourself. And I was like, that is very true. I went through it. It took me like not even a Saturday to work on it, 2 hours.
Mhm.
And the next day I was fine. I was like, "Oh my goodness, I had to overcome this abandonment wound," or there
Mhm.
were so
Mhm.
many different wounds and
Mhm.
visibility wounds, and that's how I overcame those, and now I'm here today speaking about this, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
it's really important to do your inner work, shadow work first a bit,
Yeah.
and then go into, "This is my business. This is who I wanna work with. This is my energetics," right? So, it's the
Mhm.
internal, the personal before the business,
Mhm.
right? So
I just want to add to that I agree to a certain extent that every relationship is a mirror, but
mhm,
what's being reflected back to us isn't necessarily because we are that. So an example
yeah,
would be if we're sitting in frustration because we're in this relationship and they're not taking responsibility, it doesn't always necessarily mean we're in this relationship because we're also not taking responsibility. Like absolutely slow down, take stock. Where can I take more responsibility in my life? Like we definitely do that work with soulmate clients. Oh,
yeah,
people are showing up and they're not willing to pay. Okay. They're not willing to invest in themselves. So let's look at you. Where are you not willing to invest in yourself? Absolutely. But there's deeper layers to it. The work of the seven Essene mirrors, Greg Braden, there's 7 different mirrors that we see. So that's possibly one of them, but there's 6 other ones to dive into to, again, better understand the relationship dynamics and what's causing us to feel insecure or unsafe in ourselves and in that situation. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, amazing, and
Yeah.
yeah, there's deeper levels, and I don't know too much about it. I was just like,
Mhm.
some people are soul mirrors, some people are soul mates.
Mhm.
So it really depends. And some of them are just like lessons, it's just blessings, or just for us to kind of evolve and grow, right? And
Mhm.
it's just part of how our evolution, right? It's
Mhm.
it's not anything about us, right? It's just how
Mhm.
it's as we're evolving, our business is going to evolve, your relationships are going to evolve, and we just need to make sure that we're giving ourselves grace and other people grace, right? So
Mhm. Absolutely.
thank you so much for sharing this. Wow, this was an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
So what's next for you and any new programs, initiatives?
What's next for me? Master Heart Mastermind is where it's at. Applications are open there. I just
Perfect.
love, obviously, energetic intelligence, all these aspects, all these juicy, beautiful conversations to support people to shift into this new paradigm of leadership. One of the things that we do within that as well, I just have to say this is it's quite interesting. So I'm not Anne, but you've called me Anne throughout the whole podcast, and there's a different energy to Anne and AnnMarie. So I just let it happen because I'm trusting that for whatever reason, the energetics of Anne needed to come through today and not AnnMarie. So and I'm saying this because it gets to be fun. Like you commented on it, how I just light up when we start talking about astronumerology. This is the foundation of the Master Art Mastermind. We go deep into your astronumerology blueprint and really begin to understand the energetic architecture behind you and your leadership and your business. So that way you can authentically attract soulmate clients and scale with soul without selling your soul, which
Mhm.
is what we all want to do as spiritual entrepreneurs and conscious business owners. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so sorry. I just
No, you don't
literally,
have to say sorry. No, no, no. I didn't
yeah.
correct you on purpose. I could have right away. And I was like, no, we're just going to roll with this because I do know that Anne has a very different energy than Anne
Yes, so
Marie.
I wanna apologize, that's
No,
definitely my
no,
fault. So,
don't.
yes, I will call you Anne Marie from now. So, okay, awesome. Well, so happy for you and the mastermind, and I'm like, I feel like I'm already learning so much from you.
Good.
So I know if whoever is listening, please connect with Anne Marie.
Yeah.
She's an amazing soul and a
Thank
lot to
you.
share, and
Yeah.
it's very inspiring. And let's have some fun rapid fire round.
Okay.
So, okay, beach vacation or mountain retreat?
Can't answer that. I live on a mountain on the ocean.
Yeah,
Both.
I
It's
love
both.
both too.
Sorry, both.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. I love that. Okay, so favorite place you have traveled to?
Oh, favorite place I've traveled to? Okay, I'm going to say this because it's 7 energy month and 7 energy loves travel. We don't always have to go to the other side of the earth to find amazing places. Traveling around home, I'm going to say Bowen Island. And I'm hesitant to say this because where I live, I'm like, I don't want everybody to know about it because it's so special and it's so great. But it's a 20-minute ferry ride and it's just magical. It's a completely like the energy is just slow and fun and community. And yeah, I'm going to say Bowen Island.
Wow,
It was one of
wow.
those places. I've lived out here for 20 years and we didn't go until 3 years ago. And when we went there, the whole time we're like, why haven't we been here before? This is crazy. This is so amazing. And it's a 20-minute ferry ride. It's literally like a 10-minute drive from our house, 20-minute ferry ride, and hadn't explored it. And I'm a firm believer in travel. I love travel. I love adventure. It's a part of my code, but we don't need to go far in order to find magical places. Yeah.
That's true, very true. And I think recently, I don't know, I just went to this hotel, like I think it was like Ritz-Carlton, and I was like, let me just like celebrate my birthday there. It's 20 minutes, and
Yeah.
it was just really nice, and I
Yeah.
didn't even expect it. I was like, it's Ritz, it's just not my vibe, but
Yeah.
why not, right? Because we all deserve it. And I was like, oh wow, this was amazing. And I think like
Yeah.
to your point, travel doesn't have to be immediately another state or country. It can
Yeah.
just be 5 minutes from here,
Mhm.
10 minutes from here.
I mean,
I've
don't get me wrong. I want to go back to Hawaii and hang out with the whales for sure, hands
yeah,
down. Like, and there's several other places I want to go to because they have whales. I'm obsessed with whales, but staying close to home, I don't know. It's where it's at
it is.
sometimes.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
It is. And I just traveled to the Bay Area to visit my cousin, and she just took us to the farmer's market. And at first I was like, okay. I mean, it's not my vibe, but let's try it. But
yeah.
it was just like those simple moments. I was like, the strawberry tastes so good, and this tastes so good. And I was like, it was those small things, right?
Yeah,
That we
yeah,
don't really know. It's like maybe For me, like to your point, my travel was I went to Hawaii. It was amazing. I'd go to Spain and Madrid, but I never took like even these small things like very seriously. And I was like just to go to the farmer's market and enjoy the nice fresh fruits
Mhm.
and spend time with my family and
Mhm.
just travel, even if it's like 10 minutes with them. And I went to Monterey Bay and the ocean and the mountain. Because
Mhm.
I'm in the East Coast, I'm always in the city and the hustle bustle. And
Mm.
that's what I'm used to, and I'm not much near the beach, but that was something that was very refreshing to me, so
Nice.
amazing, love how you said that, and okay, so if your business had a theme song, what would it be?
If my business had a theme song, what would it be? Probably "Don't Stop Believin'" by Journey. It's quite an old song
Mm,
because that's the ride of an entrepreneur. You're like, "I got this. I'm in this. I'm living my
yeah,
dream. This is my purpose, my vision. This is why I do what I do, why I wake up every day." And then 2 seconds later, you're like, "What have I done? What was I
exactly,
thinking? Who am I who am I to think that I could do this?" It's definitely a roller coaster. It is the biggest opportunity in terms of personal development and spiritual growth, and it's a roller coaster ride, and there isn't anything for us to do besides, like, hold on tight, have fun, and then just, yeah, stay in that energy of believing it's not why me, but why not me? Yeah.
exactly, exactly, I love what you said, "Why not me?"
Yeah.
And anything, it's not just business, but anything I feel like everyone should deserve. A lot of things because we feel like we have one thing, maybe I shouldn't get that. And a lot, even when it comes to business owners as well, I don't know if I can reach the millionaire,
Mhm.
part or 50K months. And,
Mhm.
why not you?
Mhm.
Right. So there's every reason. And I feel like you don't need to like be someone else. You just need to be yourself. And the fact that you're making an impact and you're just serving that
Mhm.
itself, like you should deserve to have everything. Right.
Mhm.
So amazing. Well, thank you so much, AnnMarie. This has been such a powerful
Thanks,
conversation.
Mina. Yeah.
And what I appreciate most is how you've challenged the idea that more effort is not really always the answer. It's because so many
Mm.
leaders are constantly looking outside themselves for the next strategy, framework. But what often is the breakthrough is that they're seeking, it starts within.
Mhm.
Right. So your work reminds us that sustainable success isn't built through force, it's built through alignment.
Mhm.
It's built through nervous system capacity, self awareness, intentional leadership. And we have to trust ourselves at a deeper level. Right. So for everyone listening, perhaps the question isn't, what do I need to do next? Right. But
Mm.
perhaps the question is, who do I need to become to
Mhm.
hold the vision I'm calling it?
Mhm.
And that is something that I learned right now, and it's very important. And it just shifts the paradigm and it makes life and business so much easier, right?
Mhm.
And more expansive and more, you're just more excited and enjoy.
Mhm.
And before we close, I want to share something exciting. So, Sovereign Rise has officially launched yesterday, which I'm excited about. And we're already seeing incredible interest, referrals, and aligned leaders reaching out to become part of the vision. So, it's very similar to what we have talked about. Coming from a place of conscious leadership, we talk about energetics and nervous system and identity and all of that, and how it really can create sustainable business growth. So it's really a curated space, a premium community where there's change makers and we build together, we rise together. And it's a lot of amazing collaborators already. So you don't have to perform to belong. You can just be yourself, right? So if you feel called to join as a founding member, memberships are currently free. And as we intentionally build this ecosystem together. And if you're interested in contributing as a collaborator, speaker, partner, or anything else, feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. So thank you so much again, AnnMarie, for joining us on Voices of Impact. And until next time, trust your inner wisdom, your unique path, and remember that true expansion starts from